Are you dreaming of moving to Portugal? Well, no need to fantasize about it because a move to Portugal is totally possible. In this video, I cover your most frequently asked questions and go over all the basics so that you can make your move to Portugal a reality. Hello, if you're new here, my name is Cepee, rhymes with Peppy from SheHitRefresh.com. And I help women age 30 and over break free from a life of routine and move abroad or travel the world long term. And that's exactly what I did myself. In 2015, at the age of 35, I moved from Texas to Spain, and I am still here almost 7 years later. So you're probably here because you're looking to move abroad too. So I first want to thank you so much for tuning into my channel. On this channel, I talk about moving abroad and specifically for US citizens. And I'd love to invite you to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and turn on notifications so that you don't miss out on any move abroad content. So Portugal. As the least expensive country in Western Europe, Portugal ticks off so many boxes for Americans and other foreigners who are looking to move abroad. What's not to love about Portugal? I mean, Portugal is a stunning country with endless culture, history, scenery, friendly people, and just a great quality of life, as well as affordable healthcare and a great location to discover all of Europe and beyond. I really could go on and on and on about Portugal, but before I do, I want to get to my weekly shout outs. And this week's weekly shout out goes to Cappy246, who commented on my video, Moving Abroad After 30, You're Not Too Old and It's Not Too Late. And she says, I'm 41, will be moving to the Netherlands in the next 5 to 7 years. Very excited. That is really exciting. Congratulations, Cappy. I'm excited for you. And I just love that you are sharing your age there and letting people know that people over 40 are hitting refresh, as I like to call it, moving abroad and making radical changes in their lives. So if you're watching this video, just know that it's never too late and you are never too old to make that move abroad. So if you're interested in learning how to move to Portugal, the best places to live, the cost of living, buying property, taxes, and healthcare, then you're in the right place. So without further ado, let's dive in. These are my tips to moving to Portugal from the US, helpful tips for beginners. So of all the questions that I get asked about moving to Portugal, the number one question that I get is, can US citizens move to Portugal? So the short answer is yes. And I actually go over 6 different visas that Americans can attain to move to Portugal. I go over those in my digital book, I'm Out of Here, an American's Ultimate Visa Guide to Living in Europe, where I break down the 17 easiest countries to move to in Europe for Americans and cover over 50 viable visa options. So in this video, I'm not going to go over all 6 visas for Portugal, but I am going to go over the most popular one, and that's probably one that you've heard of, called the D7 visa. So if you watch my video on Spain, the D7 is sort of like an expanded version of the non-lucrative visa in Spain. Because here on Portugal's D7 visa, you can move to Portugal, you can work remotely, you can even work in Portugal, or set up a business. I would say most people moving to Portugal in the D7 are either retirees or remote workers. So if that's you, I think this visa would be a perfect fit. The D7 visa in Portugal requires you to show proof of income or savings. Now, before you could just show proof of income or savings of about 8,500 euros per person on your application, but I've heard from recent applicants that the consulates are asking for more financial proof, and that can be anywhere of up to 20,000 US dollars or euros, because it's pretty much 1-on-1 right now, per person. So again, now while officially you may be seeing numbers of financial proof of around 8,500, it's more likely that you're gonna have to show around 20K. And that is because consulates and embassies in the US for Portugal, and with mainly every country, work independently. So they may be interpreting the requirements differently. So again, these figures that I gave may differ depending on where you have to apply. But if you'd like more information, please check out my digital book, I'm Out of Here. Okay, the next question that I get asked is, what are the best places to live in Portugal? And I would say probably the 2 most popular are going to be the 2 biggest cities in Portugal, which are Lisbon and Porto. So these 2 cities are really popular with foreigners. Of course, there are foreigners living all throughout Portugal, in towns, villages, on the coast, coast and in rural areas. But I'm just gonna go over the two most popular here. So let's start with Lisbon. So Lisbon is Portugal's largest city and capital. It has a diverse population and a cultural scene that just makes it a top choice for people who are looking to move to Portugal. It's sometimes called the San Francisco of Europe for its hills, colorful trams, and even red suspension bridge. It's got a sparkling coastline, and its claim to fame is the sunniest capital in Europe. It's been attracting a lot of digital nomads and young creatives for its low cost of living, although I will say that the housing prices in Lisbon are a bit crazy, so you're not gonna find any deals anymore, but it's still an affordable city to live in if you're moving here from the US. Other fun facts about Lisbon is that it's the second oldest capital in Europe. It has centuries old architecture, so it's just a beautiful city. You're gonna love the colorful Portuguese tiles that you'll see everywhere, and the city itself just has a very liberal mindset. So let's move on to Porto. So Porto is Portugal's second largest city, and it's located about 200 miles north of Lisbon. So Porto is known for its Dom Luís Bridge and, of course, port wine. So Porto has a lower cost of living than Lisbon, so that's great. It has a small town charm, an expansive food scene, and it's actually going through a bit of a revival. So it's attracting a good number of digital nomads and international retirees. So like I said before, those aren't the only two places that international people are flocking to. And if cities aren't your thing, you can head down south to the Algarve region. A lot of digital nomads and retirees are moving there too. It's great for people who are looking for warmer weather and, of course, want to be near the beach. All right, number 3 is, what is the cost of living in Portugal? So this is going to vary on a few factors, but it's important to know that Portugal is the least expensive country in Western Europe. Also, it's important to know that while it may not be expensive for foreigners, the cost of living in Portugal is actually quite high for locals. Like anywhere, the cost of living is going to depend on so many factors. So do you want to live in the middle of a big city? Do you want to live on the coast, or maybe just a rural area? And it's also going to depend on your needs, your lifestyle, and your spending habits. But just to give you an idea, a single person can live comfortably in Lisbon for probably less than $3,500 a month. And for other cities, you can live on $2,500, and of course, much less than that if you're going to live in a town or a village. The next question that I often get asked is it better to live in Portugal or in Spain? So I know a lot of people who are considering moving to Europe, a lot of them have Portugal and Spain at the top of their list, and they just can't decide. So which one is better? Well, maybe I'm biased because I live in Spain, but actually I think this really just depends on what you're looking for. Now, both countries have great weather, friendly people, easily accessible to get around within the country and other parts of Europe, and of course have an affordable cost of living. But do take in mind, if you want to live in a bigger country, Spain is probably the better choice. And of course, in Spain, you're going to be able to practice and speak Spanish. If you don't speak Spanish, then you won't be using your Spanish skills so much in Portugal, as you'll need to learn Portuguese if you move there. Between the two, overall, Portugal is going to be less expensive. But I think when it comes to the perks, the one that really stands out for Portugal is their non-habitual tax resident scheme. So I'll talk about that next in the next question, but it's basically a tax break that you can get as a US citizen living in Portugal, and it's a tax break that Spain does not offer. So question number 5 is, do US citizens have to pay taxes in Portugal? So of course, this is going to depend on many factors as well as how many days you've resided in the country, what your assets and earnings and income are. But for foreigners who are going to be living in Portugal for more than 183 days, then you will be considered a tax resident and will have to file. Of course, filing does not always equal paying. And if you are not a Portuguese resident, but you still are spending some time out of the year there, you still need to pay taxes on any money that you've earned while living in Portugal. So of course, a little asterisk here, this is the big perk of moving to Portugal, is their non-habitual residence tax regime. So also known as the NHR, this provides expats the opportunity to decrease their tax income to 0 under this scheme for the first 10 years of living in Portugal. Of course, it's not exactly 0. In 2020, Portugal has revised their NHR requirements or laws, and so it has been revised to include a 10% tax on foreign pension income, and that does include foreign social security. So it's a great tax break and one that Spain does not offer, so if you're looking to reduce your tax burden, Portugal may be the way to go. Question number 6 is, can US citizens buy property in Portugal? And the answer is yes. And there's also the opportunity to buy property and qualify for residency. It's actually one of the fastest track ways to get residency in Portugal, and that is through their golden visa. Now with the golden visa though, you do have to make a financial investment of anywhere from 2,500 to 500,000 euros, and that does have a few stipulations. It doesn't mean that you can just buy a place in Lisbon and Porto, so if you're thinking of doing that, think again. So as of 2020, Portugal placed limitations, geographic limitations, on where you can purchase property to qualify for the golden visa, and those are limited to the interior of the country and also Portugal's islands of the Azores and Madeira. All right, and last but not least, the last question here that I get is there free healthcare in Portugal? So Portugal does have a universal healthcare system. It is not free, as taxpayers obviously are paying into that, but you as a foreigner will not have access to that. You will actually need to get a private plan for when you start your visa application, but private plans are super affordable, so expect to pay anywhere from $1,200 to $1,500 a year for one person. And for that low cost, you will have access to one of the best healthcare systems in the world. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this video about moving to Portugal from the US, my helpful tips for beginners. If you are thinking of moving to Portugal, if you have moved to Portugal, if you are in the process of moving to Portugal, please let me know in the comments. I would love to hear from you and hear about your journey. And of course, if you need any additional resources, please check out my digital book, I'm Out of Here, an American's Ultimate Visa Guide to Living in Europe, where I break down the 17 easiest countries to move to based on viable visa options. And of course, if you're a woman aged 30 and over, please join my Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/SheHitRefresh, where you'll meet over 10,000 like-minded women, and you'll find tons of inspiration, support, and resources in there to help you with your move abroad. And last but not least, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a like, subscribe to my channel, and turn on notifications so that you don't miss out on any future move abroad content.